How's it going, guys? So, Cherry Bomber B2 over here on angelcigs.com. I also looked it up over here on 3F Vape as well, okay? So, I'm going to talk about this thing for a little bit. So, when Angel Cigs and I have always been, pretty tight ever since I was, just starting at like 2,000 subscribers all the way now, where we're at. And I really wanted to help them out with promoting this particular item. Okay, when I initially saw it on the website, I gotta share some stuff with you. After finishing the PVA 40 and then doing being presented with the Kung Fu mod by SMY, I really wanted to turn the PVA 40 mod into a mechanical mod as well, okay? And I wanted to do the exact same thing with the PVA 40, which is, instead of where the original DNA 40 chip was, I'm going to change it over to a voltmeter over here that you could toggle on and off as well in case it ever got annoying with the bright light. And also have a toggle inside so that it could toggle between the parallel and the series. It will be dually MOSFETted, anti-vandal switch, everything that really needed as far as doing a parallel series box mod, right? And then this thing beat me to it, and then it's $35. I was shocked, I was dumbfounded, I was floored by it, and really. This is exactly the direction that I would point everybody towards if they ever said, I wouldn't even bother with my own project anymore. I'd just be like, nobody does it better than this. You might as well just go ahead with that. After further examination of stuff, I started to get more and more concerned with things. Like, for instance, over here, if we look closely into the photo over here, I can't seem to visually find where the MOSFET is, and then that kind of makes it a full deal breaker for me, which is the fact that if I don't see a MOSFET in the design, in the original setup, then I really can't recommend it for anybody, okay? So luckily I have it in my hand, and it actually does have a MOSFET in here, but there's more to it. Back in the old days when I used to, do vape shopping with Peg and stuff, I used to tell you guys a lot of things where the devil is in the details, right? I mentioned this line very, very often, which means that at the end of the day, all of these manufacturers and stuff like that, they will not lie to you, but you have to look for it at the same time. So looking at this photo over here, you could see that where this cover is, it's a little bit thin over here, and it's a little bit deep over here. So that's strange. Why the slant? If this thing is supposed to be a shroud, a plastic shroud that's inside of the case, why the slant? It doesn't make any sense. Well, let's dive down right now, and I'm going to show you what's going on with this device. And at the end of the day, we just got to be fair about it. All right, guys. Cherry Bomber V2 over here. So just like the Cherry Bomber V1, we still got the Jessica Rabbit thing going on over here. It says, you want clouds, we got clouds. Over here it says vaping dream. Okay, and the door opens up like this. So the first thing that I want to show you guys, okay, is that the corners of this thing, a little bit on the sharp side, definitely scratches your hands. Okay, and the little magnets on top, on the bottom over here, is all there is to it. And to be honest, they could be a little bit stronger, because holding it in my hand over here, just like with my pinky, just a little bit, it opens, So as I'm holding it like this, any little force is just going to open a little bit like that, and that kind of bothers me. I really would like the magnets to fight me a little bit more, or have the magnets on this side or something like that. Maybe that will solve the situation. Okay, so earlier we were talking about the shroud over here, right? So once I had this open up, turns out that it's really not a shroud, it's just a sticker, right? I know this is not going to sit well with many of you looking at this, right? But we're going to talk more about this in a bit. So let me set this aside first and go ahead and show you guys that indeed MOSFET right here. So you couldn't see this in any of the other photos, the sample photos, but in fact it does have a MOSFET. Now single MOSFET is just a little bit on the stingy side for for my taste. I definitely need to know what the rating of this particular MOSFET is, which, you know, is not going to be mentioned anywhere. So definitely I would like to see dually MOSFETs. So the thing about this is that, like, hey, what's up with this? We have a lot of room over here, so why don't you just rig up your dually MOSFETs just like SMY or something and put it over here, or put your toggle switch over here so that you can have dually MOSFETs over here, something, you know? But what you really should know about this, and why I have the screwdriver in my hand, is that nothing other than the switch, right, the bracket over here for the LED screen, and the 510 connection, nothing is really mounted down solid over here. If I just went like this, like, you could see that, like, I could just lift up the battery sled at any time. You know, it's not really secure in place. The same thing goes for the switch over here. I can move it, okay? I could just lift it up. It's just, you know, nicely snaked in. Same thing with the MOSFET over here. So I can't even tell if this is intentionally done or not, where the MOSFET, see, the thing about the MOSFETs, right, is that, like, no matter how we do it, if you want the door this way so that once you put it on, you really want this tab, this metal tab over here, to be touching the wall or something like that, so that, you know, there's a little heat sinking going on. Right, because that's exactly, because the MOSFETs, you know, it's taking all the heat, it's doing all the work, and it needs to be heat sunk so that, like, you know, it stays cool and it works well. Another thing about this is that, like, I don't even know if I could really show it to you guys, but I'm gonna try my best over here, right? Try to bring, like, more of my spotlight into the camera over here. But can you see the positives right underneath the copper tabs over here? Yeah. That's where it says positive here, because initially when I had this thing, and it says negatives over here, so this sled really needs like a sticker or something to just make it a little bit more clear of which direction is going to be what. All right, so the next thing that I'm going to do is that I'm going to go ahead and let me see if I could bring my charger over into the camera over here. So I got 2 batteries over here charging, fully charged. All right, so I'm just going to take them off my charger right now. And before I put them in, I'm going to break out the good old multimeter, right? So here we go, multimeter is right here, and I'm going to turn this on. Everything is set it on voltage right now, so I'm going to take my little pins and then, like, give it a little stab, all right? So I'm going to stab over here, and I'm going to show you that they are charged to 4.2, 4.2, okay? That's how it's supposed to be. If you have a good charger, it charges your batteries to 4.2. It doesn't overcharge them to 4.23 or 4.22. It doesn't undercharge them to 4.18 or anything like that. And that's how it should be. Okay, so let's go ahead and take these batteries and put them into play. So it also irritated me that, like, it doesn't tell me that this is parallel and this is series. I have no idea what it was until I played with it. So up is parallel and down is series, okay? So we're going to put the battery downwards over here. Now, what I do like is that these days, right, with the more potential dangers of batteries venting and stuff, batteries should be aimed downwards. And the reason why it should be aimed downwards is because batteries, they don't vent from this direction, they only vent from this direction. So if you have your batteries pointed downwards and then you have your vent holes over here, then everything is copacetic and everything physically makes sense, okay? Or you have a lot of ventilation all over the place, and, you know, you have space over here so that, like, if it hit or whatever, it doesn't necessarily have to have holes over here, but, you know, as long as it was able to properly ventilate like anywhere else and it had the space in order to do so, it would be okay. But in this setup over here, it's really, really iffy for me, because once it's sealed, it's just completely sealed. Sure, if this thing vented or whatever, I'm more than positive that, like, you know, a reasonable amount of PSI would be able to leave throughout this area, and this thing is not going to turn into a pipe bomb on you. But it would have been better if, you know, there was just like a couple of holes drilled out over here, okay, as opposed to absolutely nothing. So the first thing that I'm going to do is that I'm going to go ahead and fire this thing in a single in parallel mode, because, you know, it would light up this way, and it's clocking it at 4.23. Okay, so that's already measuring much higher than what my multimeter is by at least 0.03. Now, switching it over to series mode, it just won't even light up at all, and that makes sense, okay, because you need to complete the circuit in order to for this to light up. So I'm going to face the other one downwards as marked on the keystone sleds over here, and boom, there we go, we're done. So on the on this one, right, so it's averaging out at 4.24. What is going on over here? I don't know for some of you guys, right? But I mean, maybe some of you would take the idea of a voltmeter that's calibrated a little bit off with a grain of salt and then just do the math for it. However, what bugs me over here is what happens in the long run of things, okay? Meaning that, like, okay, we're off by like point something here, but what happens when we go down a whole volt? Are we still off by only the 0.03, or does it get further and further away in the graduation from each other? So switching this over to series over here and then firing this is 8.55. But wait a second. 4.23 doubled would be like 8.46, isn't it? How do you get from 8.46 to 8.55? The calibration of this meter, and it just keeps going up. Look, like, this is, it's just constantly telling me that it has more juice than it actually has, okay? So that kind of bothers me about that. I don't know. I've done different kind of meter reviews before, and I sent them back immediately because it bothers me way too much when stuff is calibrated off. And I don't know what else to say about that other than, for me personally, that is a deal breaker. Okay, so, you know, you got your little toggle over here. The 510 connection over here with the spring loaded, it's spring loaded very well. This is spring loaded very, very well. I like it. I dig it. The 510 connection, small pet peeve over here. Very, very small pet peeve. On camera, this thing looks pretty good, but let me see if I could bring it in as close as possible to you guys and focus it in. Can you see that these edges are actually a little bit rough? And they're too small to really cut you or anything like that, but when you run your fingers over it, yeah, it's sharp. It's sharp. It's annoyingly sharp. I don't see myself ever being cut by this, but, you know, for any reason, like I'm not going to grind my knuckles over it. But yeah, it is uncomfortably sharp though. Like, this thing could have been polished a little bit to smoothen it out a bit. It felt as if, like, it's a very rough billet cut. You know what I mean? Okay, so let me focus this back down again. As far as the switch over here, the switch is just any anti-vandal switch that you could purchase on eBay. So sure, it feels good. You know, it's standard. It just feels good standard. That's all. So yeah, guys, this stuff, you know, it's moving around. Nothing is really bolted down into place. I understand that this thing, for the price of it, it's a very, very low price. It's only $35. But even for $35, I felt as if, like, they could have used a little epoxy or whatever for the battery sled to keep it in place, and or, you know, add some stickers or whatever to definitely show you guys, you know, the orientation of the batteries, so for safe usage. The box itself pretty much just came like this, and there's no instruction manual or anything like that. It's just a brief description of what's going on, plus the photo on the outside. Okay, looking up Google, I did not find any original Cherry Bomber V2s or whatever. I only found what's being sold that I can only assume is a clone because of the price. I mean, these are obviously clone prices. Okay, so let's come back up to the top cam and let me give you my final thoughts on this particular item. Okay, guys, final thoughts on this little guy. The question is, would I recommend this, or would I buy this thing? And the answer is so difficult, okay, because it really depends what's going on. Had I just saw this on a website or something like that, I would have said, yeah, hell yeah. Now that I have it in my hand, I would be like, ooh, careful, careful, okay? Because at the end of the day, you really have to approach me and be very, very specific about stuff. Tell me that, like, look, I'm really on a vape budget, and I'm trying to get, you know, a full functioning mechanical device, etc., right? Then I would go ahead and tell you, yeah, just get this one for now. It's a nice beater box to have, you know, just to have it and then carry it around. And if you lose it, you lose it. This is really a daily beater box that, like, if you lost it, you probably just feel bad about the batteries that you lost in it, you know what I mean? Or the atomizer that was attached to it, rather than just the box itself. So yeah, guys, I would really like to see comments below of how you guys feel. You know, would you rather pay something like 120 to 150 bucks for a high-end version of this made properly, and you know, it's shrouded, it's nice plastic, it's coated nicely, it's painted nicely, like everything is done high end properly, you know, and pay 150 bucks for that? Or are you more into like these really super affordable stuff that at the same time, you know, they cut a whole bunch of corners, but it's still $35. I don't know exactly where is the line to draw to say that, like, okay, you know what, this is way too cheap. Okay, not even for $35, I'm not even going to buy this thing, because at the end of the day, no, $35. What else is a $35 toggle out there other than this and the Kung Fu stuff? It's pretty much between these two things. And some of you guys don't like the way the Kung Fu looks. This one has the LED screen on the outside, and you guys would much prefer to have the Jessica Rabbit logo on the outside, right? I mean, I'd rather have the Jessica Rabbit than the Bruce Lee silhouette. So yeah, guys, it's something to think about, right? Just know what you're getting yourself into when it comes to this particular box, because it cuts a lot of corners. For those of you guys who are a little bit more, you know, crafty and more knowledgeable about stuff, if you look up eBay, right, it's like 40 bucks, 45 bucks for a Hammond project box that'll come with the anti-vandal switches, blah, 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 all that other stuff, right? Maybe you should buy this one at $35 and then change stuff up for yourself, properly epoxy the battery sled for yourself, properly move stuff around, and then, you know, add in dually MOSFETs, and then, you know, have it grounded properly, right? Break out your Dremels and put in the proper ventilation holes over here. Possibly upgrade the magnets a little bit better for yourself, and then you would have yourself a very nice project box with, you know, pretty cool engravings on it. Then I see a very good reason to pick up one of these. Okay, so that's it for my review, guys. As always, question everything, do your homework, and be clever, my friends. Take care.